Hi, my name's Mason, and I enrolled in BeMo's Gold Interview Prep program for my medical school interview, and I'm excited to also announce that I was accepted into my number one medical school, the University of Alberta, here in Canada. I just want to hop on here just to share my experience surrounding my interview preparation with BeMo and just provide a bit of a testimonial and also just give some insight to other students who are in the process right now of preparing for medical school interviews and are considering working with BeMo. And so I just wrote down a few things here that I just wanted to cover that I found to be extremely valuable in my interview prep with BeMo that I just want to share with other students. And so the first thing that I want to kind of highlight here is that as a Canadian student, I was kind of worried that I was just concerned that perhaps BeMo, they only work with like American students and kind of focus on American professional programs and interviews and things of that nature. But those concerns were quickly alleviated, and found out that BeMo works with a lot of Canadian students and has helped a lot of Canadian students get into their programs of choice, but also works with a lot of American students. So if you're a Canadian student, no need to worry. And I was just kind of concerned about that just because a lot of Canadian schools, they kind of utilize a more multiple mini interview type approach in a lot of medical school interviews, whereas from what I've heard, American schools, they do a lot more of panel interviews. And so I just want to make sure that BeMo could still help me out on that front, and that was certainly the case. I also just wanted to mention something that I found extremely valuable in terms of my prep with BeMo, was that BeMo had like just awesome customer service and was really able to tailor my interview prep to my specific concerns and my specific interview. And so what I mean by that is the interview that I was preparing for was a bit of a hybrid. So it involved both a traditional kind of interview as well as a multiple mini interview type section. And BeMo was able to organize my my interview prep sessions such that they involve both a traditional kind of panel interview as well as the multiple mini interview type aspect. And on top of that, I was really uncomfortable with like acting stations, like Breaking Bad News, for example. And I reached out to the BeMo team and just said that, this is something that I'd really like to work on, and I'd really love it if I could have at least one of these in each of my 3 interview sessions. And they were more than happy to make sure that that was accommodated. And so I really appreciated that. On top of that, I also wrote down here something that I found very valuable was the BeMo professionals themselves that facilitate the interviews. They're extremely knowledgeable and they really facilitate a real interview environment. And so to provide an example of that, and really what I mean by that is during the interview sessions themselves, the individuals facilitating the interview, they make sure that they're not smiling, they're kind of expressionless and like stone-faced, and they're not always like introducing themselves. And the reason why that's so important is because in your real medical interview, at least for me, that was really what the environment was like. It was not a happy, welcoming environment. It was a very intimidating environment where the interviewers are stone-faced, and if you're not really like climatized to that kind of interview setting, it can be really intimidating and might throw you off. And so I found that to be awesome just in terms of the BeMo professionals facilitating the interviews. Another thing that I was kind of concerned about is I got the BeMo MMI prep book before I kind of set up this interview prep with BeMo. And by the way, I would recommend that students do that first as well, because it prepares you quite well for the interview so that you can get the most out of interviews. But I was just kind of worried that the BeMo might kind of use the same questions from that book and I might not get fresh questions. But again, those concerns were quickly alleviated because that was not the case. All the questions that I got were fresh, so that was awesome. And another thing that I wrote down here that I found really valuable was the debrief sessions. So after you actually do the interview session with your BeMo expert, you go through a very intricate debrief where you kind of you dissect each question with the expert and you go over your weaknesses, you go over your strengths, and I found those to be really beneficial and also really helpful in terms of forming a strategy or like a framework for the questions that you're not as comfortable with. So yeah, those are just all the notes that I found that I wrote down that regarding the BeMo interview prep sessions that I found really valuable. And so I hope that helps other students who are considering enrolling with BeMo through one of these programs. I would 100% honestly recommend it. I think it's well worth the investment, and I think it'll save you from having to go taking another gap year or having to write the MCAT again. I felt that I walked into my interview comfortable, extremely prepared. I felt that I knocked it out of the park. And again, I'd really recommend it to any students that are interested out there. And once again, I just want to thank BeMo for helping me through this process again. So thank you. Bye.